Hi everyone, I'm Neil Gupta and I'll be kicking us off for checkpoint 2. I'm covering the unemployment rate predictor and my teammates will each walk through their own variable after me. So my research question is, does unemployment rate significantly predict total crimes per population after adjusting for poverty rate, police patrol percentage, and poverty tier? And we're asking whether unemployment contributes something unique on top of what the other predictors actually explain. To test this, I ran a partial F test comparing a reduced model without unemployment against the full model with it included. And the null hypothesis is that unemployment has no conditional effect after accounting for the other predictors. We got an F statistic of about 4.998 with a p-value of 0.026, so we reject the null. Unemployment does make a statistically significant conditional contribution to predicting the total crime rate. The coefficient is negative 207.79, standard error is 92.95, t-value is 2.24, and p-value is 0.026. And this means that the model explains about 43.5% of the variation in total crime rate, as r squared is around 0.425. Holding all other predictions constant, a 1-point increase in unemployment is associated with about 208 fewer crimes per population. And this aligns with some literature that says short-run unemployment does in fact reduce crime opportunities. But one concern is that unemployment and poverty rate have a correlation of 0.787, suggesting potential multicollinearity that could make it harder to isolate unemployment's individual effect. Now I'll hand it over to my teammate.
My name is Brodie Hansen, and I will be taking you through our testing on the poverty rate variable. Our revised research question was, does poverty rate significantly predict total crimes per population after adjusting for unemployment rate, police patrol percentage, and poverty tier? Our response variable is, of course, total crimes per population, with the primary predictor of interest being the poverty rate variable in this case, and then we adjusted for everything else in the data set. So that makes our null hypothesis was beta 2 equals 0. Poverty rate has no conditional effect on total crime rate after adjusting for other predictors. And of course, our alternative was beta 2 does not equal 0, i.e. has a significant conditional effect on crime rate. And here you can see the reduced and full models we used to test that. The only difference being that the poverty rate variable is included in the full model and not included in the reduced. And here is the code we used to do the testing and a quick summary. 102.03 was the F statistic with degrees of freedom of 1,296 and a very, very, very low p-value. And because it's so low, we can reject H naught and say that the poverty rate variable makes a statistically significant conditional contribution to predicting total crime, and that poverty rate explains significant additional variation in crime beyond what just employment rate, police patrol, and poverty tier already account for. And then we ran the regression. You can see the output here. Quick summary. We got a estimate of 321.26 for the poverty variable, the standard error of 31.8, t-value of 10.101, and again, a very low p-value. R squared was 0.4353, and at the adjusted R squared was 0.4257. Quick summary of what that means. Holding unemployment rate, police patrol percentage, and poverty tier constant, a 1 percentage point increase in poverty rate is associated with an increase of 321.26 crimes per population. The positive direction aligns with the idea that poverty normally encourages people to turn to criminal activity to make ends meet. One thing we did notice, we ran the correlation test here, and we found that percent unemployed and percent population under poverty both had a correlation of 0.787 with each other, and which is pretty high, and that suggests potential multicollinearity, which makes it harder to fully isolate one of the two's individual effect on crime.
So I'm doing the police patrol percentage, and the revised research question is, does police patrol percentage significantly predict total crimes per population after adjusting for current unemployment rate, poverty rate, and poverty tier? The response variable here is total crimes per population. The primary predictor of interest is lemma percent police on patrol. We're adjusting for percent unemployed, percent population under poverty, and poverty tier. Here is a setup for a partial F-test on police patrol percentage. Our H0 is beta 3 equals to 0, which means police patrol percentage has no conditional effect on total crime rate after adjusting for other predictors, and H1 is beta 3 is not equal to 0, which means police patrol percentage has a significant conditional effect. And we have reduced model and full model here. For reduced model, it's just full model, but remove the beta 3 times lemma's percent police on patrol. And here's the output for the partial F-test. The F statistic is 0.5, degree of freedom is 1 and 296, p-value is 0.44 here. And p-value is bigger than 0.05, so we fail to reject H0. So based on the context, it means lemma's percent police on patrol variable does not make a statistically significant conditional contribution to predict the total crime rate. It does not explain additional variable in crime rate besides what other variables, which are unemployment rate, poverty rate, and poverty tier already account for. And here's a regression output. If we look at the term lemma's percent police patrol, the estimate is 9.91, standard error is 13.07, the t-value here is 0.758, and the p-value is 0.4488. R squared is 0.4353, and after adjusting for it, it's 0.4257. So in context, it means holding poverty rate, unemployment rate, and poverty tier constant. 1% point increase in police patrol percentage variable is associated with an increase of 9.91 crimes per population. This poverty direction does not align with the existing literature where police patrol reduces crime. However, since the effect is not statistically significant, since the p-value is on 0.44, we cannot draw meaningful conclusions about the direction of the relationship. And now we do a correlation check on the three variables. Lemma's percent police on patrol and percent unemployed have a correlation of negative 0.097, which is a weak relationship, so it's negligible. And lemma's percent police on patrol and percent population under poverty have a correlation of negative 0.1, which we also conclude it is weak and it is negligible. So we conclude that multicollinearity is not a concern for the partial F-test conclusion on police patrol percentage.
Hi, my name is Aishani, and I will be going over the low versus high tier. So our revised research question for low versus high tier is, does the poverty rate significantly predict crime rate after adjusting for unemployment rate and police patrol percentage? And is there a difference in crime rates between low and high poverty tier states? The response variable is total crimes per population. Our primary predictor of interest is the percent population under poverty, and we are adjusting for percent unemployed, lemma's percentage police on patrol, and the poverty tiers. So our partial F-test setup is our null hypothesis with beta 4 equaling 0, and there is no significant difference in crime between low and high poverty tier states. And our alternative hypothesis where beta 4 does not equal 0, and there is a significant difference in crime between low and high poverty tier states. Our full model is total crimes per population equals beta 0 plus beta 1 times percent unemployed plus beta 2 times percent population under poverty plus beta 3 times lemma's percentage police on patrol plus beta 4 times poverty tier low plus beta 5 times poverty tier mid, and our error. Our reduced model is total crimes per population equals beta 0 plus beta 1 times percent unemployed plus beta 2 percent population under poverty plus beta 3 times lemma's percentage police on patrol plus beta 5 times poverty tier mid plus our white noise. Our partial F-test results is for low versus high tier is our F statistic is 8.99, our degrees of freedom is 1,294, and our p-value is 0.00294. Since our p-value is less than 0.05, we reject the null hypothesis. The poverty tier low makes a statistically significant conditional contribution to predicting total crime rate. The difference between low and high poverty tier states explains additional variation in crime beyond what unemployment rate, poverty rate, and police patrol percentage already explain. Our regressional output is r squared equals 0.4353 and adjusted r squared equals 0.425. For poverty tier low, our estimate is negative 972.36. Our standard error is 324.27. Our t-value is negative 2.999, and our p-value is 0.00294. The coefficient interpretation and multicollinearity is for low versus high tier. So holding unemployment rate, poverty rate, and police patrol percentage constant, low poverty tier states have approximately 972 fewer crimes per population compared to high poverty tier states. The p-value indicates this difference is statistically significant. This suggests that communities in low poverty tier states tend to experience low crime rates than those in high poverty tier states after adjusting for the other predictors. Low poverty tier and percent population under poverty have a correlation of negative 0.127. This indicates a weak relationship between poverty tier and poverty rate. The relatively low correlation between poverty tier indicators and other predictors suggest no severe multicollinearity involving poverty tier variables.
For my portion of the analysis, I'm looking at whether being in a mid-poverty tier has a significant effect on total crime rate. Oh, by the way, this is Ishaan. So I'm looking at whether being in a mid-poverty tier has a significant effect on total crime rate compared to high-poverty tier communities. My response variable is total crimes per population, and my primary predictor of interest is poverty tier mid. I'm adjusting for unemployment rate, poverty rate, and police patrol percentage to isolate the conditional effect of the poverty tier. To test this, I set up a partial F-test. My null hypothesis is that beta 5 equals 0, meaning being in a mid-poverty tier has no conditional effect on crime after accounting for the other predictors. My alternative is that it does have a significant effect. To test this, I compared a reduced model that excludes poverty tier mid to a full model that includes it, with all other predictors held constant in both. Running the ANOVA between the two models gave me an F statistic of 0.6019 with 1 and 296 degrees of freedom and a p-value of 0.4385. Since the p-value is well above 0.05, I fail to reject the null hypothesis. This tells us that poverty tier mid does not make a statistically significant conditional contribution to predicting total crime rate. It doesn't explain meaningful additional variation beyond what the other predictors already account for. Looking at the full model regression output, the coefficient for poverty tier mid is negative 328.8 with a standard error of 423.80, a t-value of negative 0.776, and a p-value of 0.4385. The overall model has an r-squared of 0.4353 and an adjusted r-squared of 0.4257, meaning the model explains about 43% of the variation in the total crime rate. Interpreting the coefficient, holding unemployment rate, poverty rate, and police patrol percentage constant, states in the mid-poverty tier are associated with 328.8 fewer crimes per population compared to high poverty tier states. The negative direction makes intuitive sense. Mid-tier states have lower structural poverty than high-tier states, so we'd expect lower crime. However, since the effect is not statistically significant, we can't draw meaningful conclusions about this relationship. For multicollinearity, since poverty tier is categorical, I use GVIF instead of a standard correlation matrix. All GVIF values are well below 2, so multicollinearity is not a concern for this model.